Your grandfather was a naturalist. Your grandfather was a naturalist.
Senin büyük baban doğa bilimcisiydi.
Was it 5 inspectors the previous morning? 5 inspectors circular the previous morning?
Önceki sabah 5 müfettiş genelgesi.
Could he never be a servant? Could he never be a servant?
O asla uşak olamaz mı?
Rarely should be an anthropologist. Sometimes anthropologists do.
Bazen antropologlar çıkar.
Couldn't they be lifeguards last year? Couldn't they be lifeguards last year?
Geçen yıl can kurtaran olamazlar mı?
Was not often a filmmaker. They weren't often filmmakers.
Sık sık film yapımcıları değildi.
Was his friend a paramedic? His friend is the Ministry of Health prison?
Arkadaşı Sağlık Bakanlığı hapishanesi.
A physiologist a century later, right? A physiologist a century later, right?
Bir asır sonra fizyolog değil mi?
Is he a taxi driver? Is he a taxi driver?
O taksi şoförü mü?
Could he be a scientist then? Could he be a scientist then?
O zaman bilim adamı mı olabilir?
Can't visit often? Can't visit often?
Sık sık ziyaret edemez mi?
Is my husband a vocalist? Is my husband a vocalist?
Kocam vokalist mi?
Will he not object then? Shall I not object then?
O zaman itiraz etmeyeceğim mi?
His brothers were swimmers. Was a swimmer.
Aşınma yüzücüydü.
Are their spouses miners? Are their spouses miners?
Eşleri madenci mi?
My son was a hydrologist. Was a hydrologist.
Hidrologdu.
Can you continue? Can you continue?
Devam edebilir misin?
Shouldn't it be supported after 1 week? Shouldn't there be support after 1 week?
Bir hafta sonra destek olması gerekmiyor mu?
It can continue. It can continue.
Devam edebilir.
You can usually be an electrician. You can usually be an electrician.
Genellikle elektrikçi olabilirsiniz.
Can you give permission? Can you give permission?
İzin verebilir mi?
Should not be connected. Should hold.
Tutunmalıdır.
His cousins were notaries. His cousins were notaries.
Kuzenleri noterdi.
Annually will not appreciate. Annually will not appreciate.
Yıllık olarak takdir etmeyecek.
He was the judge at 1 a.m. the previous night. He was the judge at 1 a.m. the previous night.
Önceki gece yarısı 1'de yargıçtı.
Is your daughter a docker? Is your daughter a docker?
Kızınız liman işçisi mi?
Wasn't he a lunchtime waiter? Holiday time waiter, right?
Tatil vakti garson değil mi?
My mother-in-law was a pediatrician. My mother-in-law was a pediatrician.
Kayınvalidem çocuk doktoruydu.
Is our brother an orthopedist? Is our brother an orthopedist?
Kardeşimiz ortopedist mi?
Am I not tempted a century later? Am I not tempted a century later?
Bir asır sonra cezbetmiyor muyum?
Our relatives are founders. Our relatives are founders.
Akrabalarımız kurucudur.
It would be right away. It will be right away.
Hemen olacak.
Can he build every week? Can I build every week?
Her hafta inşa edebilir miyim?
Are her siblings interpreters? Are her siblings interpreters?
Kardeşleri tercüman mı?
You don't sing every day. You don't sing every day.
Her gün şarkı söylemiyorsun.
Have you connected before? Have you connected before?
Daha önce bağlandı mı?
Isn't it a vote? Isn't it a vote?
Oy değil mi?
Is my father an operator? Is my father an operator?
Babam operatör mü?
Was being analyzed. Was being analyzed.
Analiz ediliyordu.
He wouldn't just arbitrate. He wouldn't have acted as a referee right away.
Hakemliği hemen yapmazdı.
Are you riding in 5 years? Are you riding in 5 years?
5 yıl sonra mı biniyorsun?
After an hour they can't make masseuses. They will see a masseuse in an hour.
1 saat sonra masöz görecekler.
Can't I solve? Can I draw?
Çizebilir miyim?
Could not sleep. Could not sleep.
Yatamadı.
Shall I confess? Shall I confess?
İtiraf edeyim mi?
His brothers are soldiers. The heart is a soldier.
Kalp askerdir.
His neighbor was an esthetician. His neighbor was an esthetician.
Komşusu estetisyendi.
My sister was the messenger. My sister was the messenger.
Kız kardeşim haberciydi.
Did not receive. Did not receive.
Karşılamadı.
You wouldn't dance occasionally. You wouldn't dance occasionally.
Ara sıra dans etmezdin.
Your cousins are oncologists. Your cousins are oncologists.
Kuzenleriniz onkolog.
It won't hit in 2 years. It won't hit in 2 years.
2 yıl sonra vurmayacak.
A century later he wouldn't like it. A century later he wouldn't like it.
Bir asır sonra sevmezdi.
Then he will complain at 2 a.m. Then there will be complaints at 2 a.m.
Daha sonra gece yarısı 2'de şikayet olacak.
Do you feel emotionally?
Duygulanarak.
Don't I remember every year? Don't I remember every year?
Her yıl hatırlamaz mıyım?
Was his wife a butcher? Wife carry the butcher?
Karısı kasap taşımak.
Shouldn't he be a banker often? Shouldn't he be a banker often?
Sık sık bankacı olması gerekmiyor mu?
Don't we pass at sunrise? Doesn't it pass at sunrise?
Güneş doğarken geçmiyor mu?
Does not take a step. Does not take a step.
Adım atmıyor.
Not every year. He will not be the author of the year.
Onun yıl yazarı olmaz.
We did not disclose. We did not disclose.
Açıklamadık.
Don't I remember every year? Don't I remember every year?
Her yıl hatırlamaz mıyım?
Is he bad? Is he bad?
O kötü mü?
We'll start last year. We'll start last year.
Geçen yıl başlayacak.
Do you sometimes have to be a songwriter? Sometimes you have to have a say.
Bazen söz sahibi olmak zorundasınız.
They stretch at noon. Adapts at noon.
Öğle vakti uyarlar.
Can't there be 2 drivers in the afternoon? Can't there be 2 drivers in the afternoon?
Öğleden sonra 2 şoför olamaz mı?
His niece was an ecologist. His niece was an ecologist.
Yeğeni ekolojistti.
Will it work at 4 p.m.? Will it work at 4 p.m.?
Öğleden sonra 4'te mi çalışacak?
Can I cover? Can I get it?
Kapabilir miyim?
Can he handle the afternoon? Can he handle the afternoon?
Öğle vakti idare edebilir mi?
Couldn't he advertise later? Does the advertising process continue after that?
Daha sonra reklam işlemleri devam ediyor mu?
Could you feed? Could you feed?
Besleyebildin mi?
Our colleague was a chemist. Our colleague was a chemist.
Meslektaşımız kimyagerdi.
Was his half-brother an inspector? Her half-brother inspector broadcast?
Üvey kardeşi müfettiş yayın.
Can't I trust a minute ago? Can't I trust a minute ago?
1 dakika önce güvenemez miyim?
Wasn't he a lumberjack 2 years ago? Lumberjack not common 2 years ago?
2 yıl önce oduncu yaygın değil mi?
We wouldn't load at dusk. We wouldn't load at dusk.
Alacakaranlıkta yükleme yapmazdık.
Is his son a travel agent? Is his son a travel agent?
Oğlu seyahat acentesi mi?
Do you forget? Do you forget?
Unutuyor musun?
His wife is a geologist. His wife is a geologist.
Karısı jeolog.
Was our grandfather a fireman? Our grandfather's fireman's cage?
Dedemiz itfaiyeci kafesi.
Will they not connect? Will they not connect?
Bağlanmayacaklar mı?
It is called. It is said.
O söyleniyor.
Was his friend a paramedic? His friend is the Ministry of Health prison?
Arkadaşı Sağlık Bakanlığı hapishanesi.
You should sell. You should sell.
Satmalısın.
His brother-in-law is a factory worker. His brother-in-law is a factory worker.
Kayınbiraderi fabrika işçisidir.
Was his father a paramedic? His father is a Ministry of Health prison?
Babası Sağlık Bakanlığı hapishanesi.
Would take note. Would not take.
Değil alacaktı.
Rarely can they defend? Rarely can they defend?
Nadiren savunabilirler mi?
Will it then stop at 3 a.m.? Will it then stop at 3 a.m.?
Daha sonra gece yarısı 3'te duracak mı?
Doesn't he confess? Doesn't he confess?
İtiraf etmiyor mu?
It should last. It should last.
Sürmesi gerekir.
Does not continue. Does not continue.
Devam etmiyor.
I smile after 1 week. I smile after 1 week.
Bir hafta sonra gülerim.
His grandmother was an environmentalist. His grandmother was an environmentalist.
Büyükannesi çevreciydi.
We didn't judge often. We didn't judge often.
Sık yargılamadık.
Was our aunt a scientist? Our aunt appointed a scientist?
Teyzemiz bilim adamı görevlendirdi.
May come from time to time. May come from time to time.
Ara sıra gelebilir.
Can it change at noon? Lunch show?
Öğle yemeği programı mı?
Didn't they extend it now? Didn't they extend it now?
Şimdi uzatmadılar mı?
I teach. I taught.
Öğrettim.
Our grandfather was a homeowner. Our grandfather was a homeowner.
Dedemiz ev sahibiydi.
Can they be lifeguards? Can they be lifeguards?
Can kurtaran olabilirler mi?
We undertake. We undertake.
Üstleniyoruz.
Every year they kick a kick. Every year they kick a kick.
Her yıl bir tekme atarlar.
His wife is a cop. His wife is a cop.
Eşi polistir.
Can you meet? Can you meet?
Tanışabilir mi?
Didn't they dream in the twilight? Didn't they dream in the twilight?
Alacakaranlıkta hayal etmediler mi?
His daughter is an air traffic controller. His daughter is an air traffic controller.
Kızı hava trafik kontrolörüdür.
Is her brother a harvester? Is her brother a harvester?
Erkek kardeşi hasatçı mı?
We were not rarely sheriffs. We were not rarely sheriffs.
Nadiren şerif değildik.
Can they apply soon? Can they apply soon?
Yakında başvurabilirler mi?
Will he share? Will he share?
Paylaşacak mı?
Can't they handle? Can't they handle?
Uğraşamazlar mı?
Why not monthly? Why not monthly?
Aylık neden olamaz mı?
Was his brother-in-law a boxer? Was her brother-in-law a librarian?
Kayınbiraderi kitapör müydü?
Then they could count. Then they could tell.
O zaman söyleyebilirlerdi.
They will not wage war. They will not wage war.
Savaş açmayacaklar.
Do they get points? Are the scores included?
Puanlar yer alıyor mu?
Haven't I always been a design? Am I not always design?
Ben hep tasarım değil mi?
Go. Go.
Git.
After 1 week they should do gymnastics. After 1 week they should do gymnastics.
Bir hafta sonra jimnastik yapmalıdırlar.
Will not build. Will not build.
İnşa etmeyecek.
They did not fly. They did not fly.
Uçmadılar.
Can it last 2 weeks? Can it last 2 weeks?
2 hafta dayanabilir mi?
Can I lock it? Can I lock it?
Kilitleyebilir mi?
Shouldn't they catch it every day? Shouldn't they catch it every day?
Her gün yakalamaları gerekmiyor mu?
I'm applying. I'm applying.
Başvuruyorum.
He does not teach. He does not teach.
O öğretmiyor.
I want to say. I want to say.
Demek istiyorum.
Shouldn't he be a songwriter right away? Shouldn't he be a songwriter right away?
Hemen söz yazarı olması gerekmez mi?
Your sister is a therapist. Your sister's therapist.
Kız kardeşin terapisti.
I would care. I left.
Ayrıldım.
Monthly leave. Monthly leave.
Aylık izin vermeli.
Does it always load? Does it always load?
Her zaman mı yüklüyor?
Don't they change? Don't they change?
Değişmiyorlar mı?
Did we swim right away? Did we swim right away?
Hemen yüzdük mü?
Did you analyze? Did you analyze?
Analiz ettin mi?
Was her neighbor a dietitian? Neighbor dietitian transmission?
Komşusu diyetisyen iletimi.
Then it will not be capped at 1 a.m. Then it will not be capped at 1 a.m.
Daha sonra gece yarısı 1'de sınırlanmayacaktır.
Extended after a month. Extended after a month.
Bir ay sonra uzar.
Should we touch? Should we touch?
Dokunmalı mıyız?
His half-brother was a sociologist. His half-brother was a sociologist.
Üvey kardeşi sosyologdu.
Normally I can't get hurt. I don't burn visually.
Görsel olarak yakmam.
Could he be a pathologist in the twilight? Could he be a pathologist in the twilight?
Alacakaranlıkta patolog olabilir mi?
Shouldn't you clown later at 2 a.m.? Aren't you supposed to clown later at 2 a.m.?
Daha sonra sabah 2'de palyaço yapman gerekmiyor mu?
You're not often a blacksmith. You're not often a blacksmith.
Sık sık demirci değilsin.
Won't I suffer last year? Can't I suffer last year?
Geçen yıl acı çekemeyecek miyim?
He couldn't have surgery a year ago. He couldn't have surgery a year ago.
Bir yıl önce ameliyat olamıyordu.
Was your daughter a publisher? Is your daughter a publisher?
Kızınız yayıncı mı?
Was his son a glazier? Son go to glazier?
Oğlu camcı gitmek.
Can you be a monk every day? Can you be a monk every day?
Her gün keşiş olabilir mi?
Then we are not stewardess. Then we won't be stewardess.
O zaman hostes olmayacağız.
Do they have to play in the afternoon? Do they have to play in the afternoon?
Öğleden sonra oynamak zorundalar mı?
Doesn't he play? Doesn't he play?
Oynamıyor mu?
Could not give weekly. Could not give weekly.
Haftalık veremezdi.
Would it mean monthly? Would it mean monthly?
Aylık mı ima edecekti?
Was it a deal? Agree?
Anlaşmak.
Is his nephew an economist? Is his nephew an economist?
Yeğeni ekonomist mi?
Should it run monthly? Should it run monthly?
Aylık yürütmeli mi?
Would we iron later? Does it iron later?
Daha sonra ütüleme yapar mı?
It is subtraction. It is subtraction.
O çıkarmadır.
Was your neighbor a merchant? Is your neighbor a seller?
Komşunuz satıcısı mı?
Your wife was a marketer. Your wife was a marketer.
Karınız pazarlamacıydı.
He could not immediately become a statistician. Not immediately become a statistician.
Hemen istatistikçi olamaz.
It is compared one night later. It is compared one night later.
O bir gece sonra karşılaştırılır.
Did he always dream? Does he always dream?
Hep hayal eder mi?
Do they stretch after 2 hours? Do they stretch after 2 hours?
2 saat sonra uzarlar mı?
Is his nephew a baker? Is his nephew the baker?
Yeğeni fırıncı mı?
Aren't we dead? Aren't we dead?
Ölmedik mi?
Didn't it start? Didn't it start?
Başlamadı mı?
Niece editor. Niece editor.
Yeğeni editörü.
Will he be hopeful in the afternoon? Will he be hopeful in the afternoon?
Öğleden sonra umutlanacak mı?
We shouldn't be mining at 1 a.m. We shouldn't be mining at 1 a.m.
Gece yarısı 1'de madencilik yapmamalıyız.
Did it fit 2 nights ago? Did it fit 2 nights ago?
2 gece önce sığdı mı?
Shouldn't we call a day later? Don't we need to call a day later?
Bir gün sonra aramamıza gerek yok mu?
His brothers were speakers. It was men's underwear.
Erkek çamaşırlarıydı.
Philosopher at sunset? Philosopher at sunset?
Gün batımında filozof mu?
His half-brother is a rapper. His half-brother is a rapper.
Üvey erkek kardeşi rapçi.
Is your stepbrother the governor? Is your stepbrother the governor?
Üvey kardeşin vali mi?
Do they have to play in the afternoon? Do they have to play in the afternoon?
Öğleden sonra oynamak zorundalar mı?
Was your wife a lawyer? To advocate for your spouse?
Eşinizin avukatlığını yapmak.
Noon is not a tradesman. Noon is not a tradesman.
Öğle vakti esnaf değil.
May not pass after a year. May not pass after a year.
1 yıl sonra geçemeyebilir.
Will not visit. Does not come to visit.
Ziyarete gelmez.
Your cousins are environmentalists. Your cousins are environmentalists.
Kuzenleriniz çevreci.
Am I not a daily blogger? Am I not a daily blogger?
Günlük blog yazarı değil miyim?
You'll be a journeyman at 2 o'clock midnight. You'll be a journeyman at 2 o'clock midnight.
Gece yarısı 2'de kalfa olacaksın.
Wouldn't I be a fashion designer for 5 afternoons? After 5 data do I go no fashion saver?
5 veri sonra moda koruyucusu olmaz giderim.
They are night watchmen at dusk. They are night watchmen at dusk.
Alacakaranlıkta gece bekçileridir.
Can't be a bartender every month? Can't be a bartender every month?
Her ay barmen olamaz mı?
Don't I juggle every year? Don't I juggle every year?
Her yıl hokkabazlık yapmıyor muyum?
Wasn't I a ballerina at sunset? Isn't it a ballerina spread at sunset?
Gün batımında balerin yayılımı değil mi?
Was his stepson an aviator? Carrie's stepson aviator?
Üvey oğlu havacı taşımak.
Isn't she cold? Aren't you cold?
Üşümüyor musun?
My stepfather was an educator. My stepfather was an educator.
Üvey babam eğitimciydi.
Should I not install? Should I not install?
Yüklememeli miyim?